Welcome to the Longevity Center. We focus on preventive, proactive, and personalized medicine. We guide our clients on what to do today to increase their health and vitality. In this series, we have invited experts to advise us on how to support our immune system. We hope you enjoy it. George Kohlrieser is a psychologist, hostage negotiator, distinguished professor of leadership and organizational behavior at the IMD in Lausanne, one of the most prestigious business schools in the world. And he's also an author of a number of books, of which Hostage at the Table is a bestseller and one of my favorite books on leadership and personal development. Today, we would like to talk about the importance of a secure base in the time of change, the importance of epigenetics and connection between health, epigenetics, secure base, bonding, and leadership. George, thank you very much for joining us today.
It's a pleasure to be here, Joanna.
I would like to start with a question that you talk a lot about, both in your seminars and also in your books. What is actually a secure base?
A secure base is any kind of anchor, including people, places, goals, events, memories, that give you a sense of protection, that you feel good, you feel comforted. And that, as a result, inspires to be able to take chances, take risks, seek change, and learn. You see, the brain is fundamentally negative, looking as a way to avoid danger for survival. And for some people, they can find threat all the time. So secure base is so central because it shuts down the brain's tendency to overreact to threat. And then you can be able to take adventures, do risks, explore, seek change. People who have too much anxiety, worry, it's all reflective of lack of a secure base because it doesn't give them that inner protection, which they then have to establish for themselves. It's essential to health.
It's essential to health. So what exact connection do you see? How does it directly influence our health? What are the health implications?
Well, we know high stress affects people negatively, makes them sick. Not only social discord, but it is physical as well. So when you feel safe, it's called psychological safety, then something positive happens inside. You have the positive mindset, and that reaches all parts of the cells, all parts of the social being, to be able to then feel engaged, positive. When you are filled with worry and defensiveness, then what happens is you shut down, you become defensive, you see too many things as a threat. And it's very simple, Joanna, as you well know, people can find threat anywhere they want to find threat. Now, what is a real threat and what is not? The coronavirus, for example, right now is a true threat. We cannot deny that. However, we cannot let that destroy us or make us overly negative, filled with fear, because then there are so many negative consequences.
Exactly. And this is so well said. And I think it's the first time in the history of the humankind that we have one common enemy that we all try to find a way how to understand on one side and how to protect ourselves from.
Yeah. So our secure bases are the experts who are guiding us. We have to be able to, even if we don't know them, we see them on television, we read about them, we hear about them, they are our secure bases. Then comes the political leaders and the others who are influencing us. And then it comes back to your own family, your own social system around you. Do you feel safe in that social system? And I take it in Poland, you are locked down as well as we are here in Switzerland. And it's a safe advice to be in your home and control the threat that's outside because it is real, but there's no reason not to feel safe excuse me, in your own home or in your own environment. You shouldn't stop living. You shouldn't stop feeling joy.
This is why we also talk a lot about the immune system and the fact that now is really a time to focus very much on our health and on our well-being and on our immune system that can actually become also our secure base, because this is the only thing we can actually do for ourselves today.
Exactly. You see, I use the idea of a hostage metaphor.
Yes.
That as a hostage is feeling powerless when they are held by a hostage taker. That's one thing. We know how to get them out. 95% success rate by hostage negotiation techniques. Excuse me. And psychological hostage is even worse because you feel that powerlessness and you have the fight flight reflex activated because of that. Now, you are the experts on epigenetics. And we know that the environment around you, as well as mindset, can actually alter the functioning of the DNA and the genes, turning them on, turning them off to protect, open the possibility for illnesses and so forth. So what we have to do is protect ourselves to ultimately be our own secure base, but not, let me emphasize, not until we have an external secure base that inspires us, either from the past or.
This is very interesting. So it's we're living in totally unprecedented times where everything around has changed. Our way of working has changed, our way we communicate, our way we spend time with family. And so it's an extreme time of change. So how can we actually deal with fear and the unknown in the best possible way?
That's a very good question, because I'm often asked, how do I be authentic and be positive when I'm filled with anxiety and fear? Well, the fear and anxiety are going to be there. However, you can focus it. You can see beyond it. I remember the story of a little girl, 6-year-old little girl who was fishing with her father out in a boat. And suddenly she, looking at the sky, she turns to her father and says, "Daddy, Daddy, I can see further than my eyes can see." Now, see, she was using her mind's eye to see something beyond the present. And we all have to be able to see beyond what our eyes can see, because you watch television, you read, you see the threats, which are real. We cannot deny them. So number one is to come back and see with the mind's eye the future, the opportunity of where this is all going to go. And that is built around learning. What are we learning as an individual, as a family, as a community, as a culture, as a society? I mean, this has been projected for many people that there was going to come a pandemic, and we obviously are not prepared, both from a mental health point of view, but especially from the physical, medical point of view as well. It's taking too many political leaders by surprise and a long time to get out of the denial. So number one is come back to the present and feel a way to be safe. Even if someone has a gun to your head, you don't have to feel like a hostage. To be a hostage means to be powerless. We do not have to feel powerless to this virus. And too many people are feeling like a hostage to this virus. And that is not correct. And that's a mindset problem. And then it's a behavior problem. And what drives that in most cases is the fact that this is activating so much grief. Joanna, there is so much denied grief because we're losing things that we took so much for granted. To go to a grocery store and walk freely up and down the aisles and find what we needed, to not be worried about touching the cart, to not be concerned about pushing the buttons on the credit card machine, to have to stay 6 feet away from people. Think of the losses, your regular routine, the normal life. We are in an active state of grief. And for some people, that means they're angry. Some others are sad, some are scared, some are a combination of all.
This is one of the aspects you mentioned in your book as well, and it's very very powerful. That next to food, oxygen, and water, bonding is our greatest source of energy, and especially now, it's much more difficult for us to bond when we are not allowed to touch people, to actually get out. So, and then also this is very much also leading us to a lot of I would say to bring down our immune system in a way, because we really need this bonding. So how can we deal with that?
It's very good you bring up the bonding. I'm not sure how I overlooked that, but that is a core element, because the human being is a social being and the brain is a social structure. So we need bonding. We need to be able to connect. Now, there's several factors in this. One is the social distancing does not have to stop the bonding. It can limit the physical touch, the physical bonding, but you're able to have psychological connection, psychological bonding. It is a mindset about bonding, because you can be in the same room with someone holding their hand and not be bonded. Or you can look at someone across the room and you can feel psychological bonding. You can connect psychologically in that bonding way. Now, how does this connect to the immunology system? It's very clear, and you are the experts on this, that when the body becomes too defensive, it affects the way the body is defending. Now, there's a whole line of research that we need a certain amount of defensiveness. The paranoid may survive up to a point until they're paranoid. We all have to be able to handle and see threat, be a little bit paranoid, but not to the point that it changes our state into a negative state. Yeah. And this is the idea behind the bonding. Bonding inspires, bonding brings us close. Although there's such a thing as negative bonding, it happens with violence, with hatred, etc. But what we have to understand is we need connection. And in this time of social distancing, it's amazing what people are coming up with. Standing outside a window, looking at their grandmother and singing a song, or setting up a Skype meal or a Zoom meal. You have together a meal with your family who is far away. And I feel very, very sad for the grandparents, the elderly people who are not maybe even fully aware of what's going on outside that nursing home. And here we find ways to be able to connect with them with technology. We're seeing some of the beauty of possibilities of psychological bonding with technology. We have to see all these as opportunities without getting into the realm of a la-la land, I would say. I mean, it is a threat, but we have to also be looking for opportunities, and mostly we have to come back to a positive state. If your listeners have lost their sense of joy, their sense of adventure, then they have to go through the grief, they have to go through a change of mindset and behavior to come back to that sense of adventure, that sense of joy.
This is so well said. So we are all stuck at home, more or less. We are all working from home. Some people are more pleased with that than others. And how to actually stay a great leader when you're working from home?
Well, you have to be, first of all, a self-leader. You have to be able to come back and manage your own schedule in a different way, set goals, and be able to self-leadership. And then you have to be able to lead others. If you are a manager and your team is working from home, how do you do this with Zoom or Skype or virtual calls, individual telephone calls, to keep them inspired? And you do this not by being coercive or being authoritarian, but you do it by questions. You start by empathizing, creating bonding through empathy. How you doing? How you're feeling? What is it you need? What are your projects? What would you like me to know? Questions, as a way to engage your employees and those around you or colleagues, or when you're having meetings, to get the brainstorming and get the mind working in a positive direction.
I think it's an interesting time also it's actually keeping us hostile on one side, on the other side, giving us the opportunity to regroup and rethink our relationships and our priorities in life as well. And I think slowly our future becomes our secure base as well, because
exactly, like the little girl, I can see beyond what my eyes can see. The future is a secure base. That's a beautiful expression, Joanna. And also to add to that, the idea that you're learning. Nelson Mandela spent 27 years in prison, basically a physical hostage, but he didn't feel after a short time like a hostage. He was always learning, he said. What was I doing? Learning. And when he came out, he wasn't filled with resentment. And I see too many people who are starting to get irritable and negative, wanting things to be different too fast. And so we have to accept what's happening, follow the guidelines of the experts. They're watching this data. And as you know, what happened in Italy is just horrific. And what's about to happen in some parts of the states are predicted to be horrific also. So we have to be able to trust certain secure bases to guide us where we're going. But ultimately, we become our own secure base, but never without external secure bases. And I might add, Joanna, that this does not just mean people. This can mean a good book. This can mean a memory. It can be an object. It can be anything that gives you a sense of protection, a good feeling of inspiration and energy. And then that is to produce the possibility to learn, explore, and drive change. This has to be a time for us to make a major change. And change is good in the right way. We don't naturally resist change. We resist the pain of change, the fear of change, the fear of the unknown. But we can see the opportunity of what change can bring. And so people in every day will choose opportunities. Not the majority of people, or the research shows, but a good number. But we are born not to just seek safety. We're born to enjoy life, adventure.
Thank you. And I heard an expression, and I don't remember exactly who said it, that we would, after this times have passed, we will have a new type of leadership as well. This would also be a time where it's going to show us actually who is a good leader and who is not a good leader. And so it might actually also be very helpful sometimes to be in a hostage situation, to convert this negative time into a positive transition.
Oh, you're absolutely right. We are seeing some of the great examples of leadership, very few, but we're seeing horrendous examples of poor leadership, failed leadership that focuses on self, is not looking at how to help people at a broader level. So we're going to come out of this also evaluating who really was a good leader or not. And by the way, that means to be able to create a vision, have the courage to act on that vision. And the vision includes listening to experts. And the vision also then is put into some kind of action. Sometimes that requires courage, real courage to act. And we see too many examples of leadership that was too late. The warnings were there, but politicians tend to ignore them. And I guess that's part of it, is to look at the failed political leadership, but also in organizations, to see how organizations can stand up now and learn, and the leaders be able to lead and lead with character.
George, thank you very much for taking the time today. And it's been a great insight into our current situation. And thank you for all the advice.
Okay. Can I just say one thing? There's going to be a few videos come out from IMD that are going to cover different subjects, from how not to be a hostage and secure base, etc. So those will be available on social media through IMD. Joanna, it's good to see you. You're bunkered down there, taking good care of yourself.
Thank you. Same to you.
Okay, bye.
Thank you for listening. We hope you have enjoyed it. For more insights on healthy longevity, please join our next episode or visit our website.